In 2022 alone, there were 3.5 million new cancer cases recorded across Europe, and 1.6 million deaths. The European nation with the most cancer cases is also the country most affected by this disease in the world. In this video, we delve into the pressing issue of cancer across Europe. In this in-depth analysis, we put the spotlight on the top 10 impacted nations. While we'll now see the countries with the most cancer cases at the end of the video, we will also see the 10 European countries with the highest mortality rates for this disease. Welcome to this new video of Amazing Europe. Number 10, Hungary. The main causes of cancer in Hungary can be summarized in 3 words: overweight, smoking, and alcohol. 67% of Hungarian men are overweight, and 26% are obese. Women fare better, but the percentages are still very high. 24% of deaths in Hungary are attributed to poor nutrition, compared to 17% in the European Union. Regarding smoking, there has been significant improvement over the years. However, the percentages are still high, with 34% of Hungarian men being habitual smokers. As for alcohol, 17 new cases of cancer per 100,000 inhabitants are attributable to alcohol consumption. All this leads to 690 cases of cancer per 100,000 inhabitants. For women, the most common cancer is breast cancer. In this regard, a recent study raises concern. Almost half of Hungarian women under 45 with breast cancer decide to reduce or forego treatment due to fears of the impact of cancer treatments on body image and sexuality, as well as concerns that these treatments could lead to loss of fertility. For these reasons, women with breast cancer in Hungary are 5 times more likely to be at risk of depression compared to the general population. Indeed, while we analyze cancer rates across Europe, it is crucial to recognize the human aspect behind these statistics. Cancer can be incredibly tough on families. The emotional turmoil that patients and their loved ones go through is unimaginable, and we speak from personal experience. When a family member is diagnosed with cancer, it's not just the patient who suffers, the entire family is affected. We all know that it is also crucial for family members to find healthy ways to support their sick relative while taking care of their own mental well-being. In this context, therapy can be a valuable tool not only for providing psychological support to cancer patients but also to their families. On this note, we recommend BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video. It is often difficult to find the right therapist to meet our needs. BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that makes it easier and more convenient to connect with the therapist that suits you best. In fact, BetterHelp has a network of over 30,000 licensed therapists and an effective method for finding the therapist best suited to your personality and specific needs. You can connect with one of them directly from your home through video calls, phone calls, or even messages. If you or your family are going through tough times, consider reaching out to BetterHelp for support. You can visit betterhelp.com/AmazingEurope or select Amazing Europe during sign-up for a special discount on your first month of therapy. Number 9, Slovenia. Lung cancer is the most deadly cancer in Slovenia for both men and women. 3/4 of those who develop this disease do not survive. However, the 2 most common cancers in Slovenia are breast cancer and prostate cancer. In particular, Slovenia is the 5th country in Europe where women die more from breast cancer. The incidence rate of this cancer has almost doubled in the last 20 years. The increase recorded is slightly higher for women, but men are still more likely to get sick. More than half of this increase can be attributed to the aging of the population. As with a longer life expectancy, more people have the chance to live long enough to contract this disease. In Slovenia, there is also a good presence of rare tumors. Rare tumors account for about 1/5 of all new cases of cancer diagnosed, and every year about 3,000 patients fall ill. In all, there are 693 cases per 100,000 inhabitants in Slovenia. The positive side is that the survival rate is slowly increasing over the years. In recent years, about 60% of patients have recovered. Number 8, Belgium. There are 695 cases per 100,000 inhabitants in Belgium. The 2 most common cancers are breast and prostate cancer. Breast cancer is a real scourge in Belgium. 191 out of 100,000 women are affected, and it is the 2nd highest rate in Europe. In terms of mortality from this cancer, Belgium is doing much better, with a 5-year survival rate of 90%. However, many Belgians complain about a truly obsolete national cancer plan. The last major cancer plan was made in 2009, and many doctors now consider it obsolete in terms of scientific knowledge. The number of cancers in Belgium has increased by 30% in 15 years. To cope with this increase, many are calling for another national cancer plan. Some maliciously claim that it is because they want to save money. The last official analysis of the cost of cancer treatment dates back to 2018. It speaks of almost 700 million euros spent on the treatment of lung cancer, another 470 million for colorectal cancer, 310 million for breast cancer, and almost another billion euros to treat all other types of cancer. We would like to know what our Belgian followers think about this. Number 7, Croatia. Croatia is the first country in Europe where women die from bladder cancer, and if both sexes are considered, it drops to 5th place. It is also the third country in Europe where minors get sick with cancer the most, with 19 cases per 100,000 minor inhabitants. It is also the third country in Europe where women get sick with thyroid cancer the most. In all, we are talking about 709 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. It seems that one problem in Croatia is that patients often have to deal with a lack of information about their condition. To give one example among many, in 2023 an interview with a Croatian lawyer made headlines when she announced that the doctors had not told her she had breast cancer. She only found out about it 8 months after she was diagnosed. The institutions initially claimed that they had only followed the protocol, but then the health minister announced that the protocol would be changed and that patients would no longer be forced to call the doctors personally to find out the results of the tests. Croatia has a serious cancer mortality problem, even though it spends more than the EU average on cancer care. Number 6, Germany. The German Cancer Research Center estimates that at least 37% of all new cancer cases in Germany could be easily avoided if Germans paid more attention to their weight, diet, and smoking. It is estimated that even 19% of new cancer cases in Germany are attributable to tobacco use. As for diet, doctors complain that Germans eat too few vegetables and too much processed meat. Alcohol is also not helpful, with 85% of Germans being avid drinkers and about 20% being hazardous drinkers. According to the World Health Organization, these are the main reasons why colorectal cancer is the third most common type of cancer in Germany. The first and second are breast and prostate cancer, respectively. Other common cancers are lung and bladder cancer. These 5 cancers alone account for about half of all cancers registered in Germany. In total, there are 722 cancer cases per 100,000 inhabitants. Number 5, Italy. Italy has almost the same cancer rate as Germany, with 724 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. Italy is the second country in Europe for childhood cancer, but it is in 10th place for deaths of minors due to this disease. It is also the first country in Europe for deaths from breast cancer. Tumors are also on the rise in Italy. It is estimated that in Italy in 2023 there were about 395,000 new cancer diagnoses, with 20,000 more men affected than women. This is an increase of 18,000 cases since 2020. At the same time, the data show an improvement in the effectiveness of cancer prevention and treatment. However, a report showed that no substantial improvements were recorded in smoking-related cancers in women and pancreatic cancer. Yet Italy spends a lot on treatment for this disease. In 2022, 20 billion euros was spent on treating cancer patients. The pandemic has certainly not been good for early diagnosis. There has been a great decrease in screenings, especially in the north, and this has led to less early diagnosis of early-stage tumors. Number 4, Norway. At the beginning of 2024, there were 336,855 men and women in Norway who had had cancer or were living with cancer. This is over 100,000 more than 10 years ago. In 2022, around 11,500 people died of cancer in Norway, about 0.2% of the population. And cancer survival rates in Norway are increasing. There are 731 cancer patients per 100,000 inhabitants. The most common cancer is prostate cancer, followed by breast cancer, colorectal cancer and lung cancer, the latter being the most deadly. Norway is also the first country in Europe for deaths from melanoma. It is also interesting to see the distribution of tumors among immigrants living in Norway. While the incidence of breast and colorectal cancer was higher among individuals born in Norway and other high-income countries, other types of cancer were higher among immigrants from low-income countries. Lung cancers were higher in men from Eastern Europe, while men and women from Eastern Europe had a high incidence of stomach cancer. The direct costs of cancer in Norway amount to 2.1 billion euros per year, to which must be added another 2 billion euros of indirect costs, indicating the value of the years of life lost. Number 3, France. In France, there are 737 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, double the number in 1990. The increase is mainly due to population growth, but also to other factors such as lifestyle and the environment. 57% of new cases are men, mainly affected by prostate cancer, followed by colorectal and prostate cancer. It is the leading cause of death among French men, while it is the second among women, preceded by stroke. However, although cancer is the leading cause of death among men in France, cases among women are increasing more rapidly. French women get sick on average at 68 years of age, while men get sick at 70. It seems that the main cause of the greater increase in cases among women is smoking. In recent decades, more and more French women have smoked, while it was previously an almost exclusively male habit. This has led to a boom in cancer in women, especially cancers of the lips, mouth, esophagus and lungs. A recent French study states, "We can never say it enough. Nearly half of cancers could be avoided thanks to changing our behaviors and lifestyles: tobacco, alcohol, unbalanced eating, sedentary lifestyle, exposure to UV rays." Number 2, the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, the most common cancer in both sexes is colorectal cancer, followed by breast cancer in women and prostate cancer in men. Melanoma is particularly high in the Netherlands, accounting for more than 6% of all cancers. It is the fourth most affected country in Europe by this type of cancer. It is thought that the high rate of melanoma in the Netherlands, as well as in Norway, could be partly due to the fact that the Dutch have fair skin and are therefore more prone to sunburn, which can cause the disease. In addition, it is the 10th country in Europe for childhood cancer, and the 6th if only males are counted. There are now 769 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. In this country too, the survival rate is increasing. In 1949, only 25% of people diagnosed with cancer lived more than 5 years. Today the percentage has risen to 66%. Experts are pushing for prevention, both to prevent suffering that could be avoided with a healthier lifestyle, and to contain public spending on this disease. In fact, it has been predicted that healthcare spending for cancer in the Netherlands will increase from approximately 5.6 billion euros in 2015 to 61 billion euros in 2060, of which 49 billion euros will be hospital costs. Before revealing the country in Europe most affected by cancer and also in which countries this disease causes the most deaths, if you found this video informative, we kindly ask you to give it a like, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to activate all notifications. This gesture will not cost you anything, but for us it would be really useful to spread our project. And when this video reaches 500 likes, we will publish one on the European countries least affected by cancer. Number 1, Denmark. Denmark is not only the first in Europe for cancer cases, but in the whole world. While in the Netherlands, the second in the European ranking, there are 769 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. In Denmark there are 837. It is the first in the world for cases of colorectal cancer, but drops to 18th place in Europe for deaths from this disease. In fact, even though Denmark is the first country in the world for cancer cases, it drops to 13th place in Europe and 14th in the world for the death rate from all types of cancer. If you want to know the ranking of European countries with the most cancer deaths, stay tuned until the end. But why are there so many cases in Denmark? The answer is not simple, but it seems to be due to multiple factors. One of the reasons why Danes seem to be particularly susceptible to cancer is that their record of diagnosing the disease is very good. With a lot of early diagnosis, more cases would be found than in other countries. But it seems that this is not the only reason, but that preventable causes due to lifestyle must also be taken into account. For example, in 2018 smoking caused 15% of all cancers in Denmark, while ultraviolet rays caused 6%. However, the good news is that there is an increasing rate of survivors in this country. Between 2018 and 2020, the 5-year survival rate after a cancer diagnosis was 68%, an increase of 11 percentage points compared to 2 years earlier. And in fact, Denmark does not appear among the top 10 European countries with the highest cancer mortality rate. If on the left you can see the ranking we have seen so far, on the right you can see the one relating to deaths. Those highlighted are the nations that are present in both rankings. The country with the highest cancer mortality rate in Europe and in the world is Croatia, with 341 deaths per 100,000 inhabitants. What do you think of the situation in your country? What is your experience? Write it in the comments. We remember that when this video reaches 500 likes, we will publish one on the European countries least affected by cancer. In the meantime, you can take a look at the least healthy European countries, not just considering cancer. You can find it at the top right of the screen. That's all for this video. See you next time.